Playing Final Fantasy XIV has become a part of my daily routine for the last 2 months. Going through A Realm Reborn made me fall in love with the game. From doing the Crystal Tower to completing the Coil of Bahamut and so many other activities. But Heavensward made my love for this game ascend. The team at Square Enix improved on every single aspect of the game, from the music, world design, story, and more. Honestly, it's kind of shocking after so many people telling me in the comments of my previous video that Heavensward is so much better than A Realm Reborn. I did begin to think that some were overhyping how much of a step up it was in comparison to the original game. But I'm here to happily say that they were all correct. Heavensward feels like more of a sequel to A Realm Reborn as opposed to an expansion. And one of the main ways the developers made me feel this way is by placing the majority of the story in brand new areas. Doing this makes a distinct line where A Realm Reborn ends and Heavensward begins. And with each area being 2.5 to even 3 times bigger than the areas in the original game, combined with the fact that these maps were designed with verticality in mind, they're a breath of fresh air. Also, this fresh air breathes new life into how the team writes characters and conflicts within the story, giving everything within the story a nice shade of gray, with the origins of the Dragon Song War being completely different from what we were led to believe, to Racevelgar seemingly being a recluse who has given up on dragon and man walking side by side once again, turns out to be one of the biggest hypocrites of the story. Also, Sir Emmerich, our new ally, having rumors around him that he is of illegitimate birth and doesn't deserve the position that he's in. By adding details like these, the writing team destroys the black and white atmosphere that was built up in A Realm Reborn. And these details branch into other aspects of the game, like the directing of gameplay and story continually playing into each other. With many great examples, I'll talk about a couple of my favorites, starting with the city of Ishgard itself, where the residents are either highborn and privileged, or could be lowborn and could be anything between middle class and living in the slums. The city does a great job of showing you where these people live, with the city being split into 2 sections. Starting with Foundation, the lower part of the city where the headquarters of the Temple Knights, slums, and most of the working class are. Everything in this area expresses that if you live here, you're average or below. From cracked pavement to scaffolding being everywhere to make sure that these buildings don't fall apart, even down to the name of this area, Foundation, which means the base, bottom, and the footing, plays into this low-born concept. The same way the pillars, the second area of Ishgard, plays into the high-born concept. This area is lined with well-designed walkways, elaborate structures, and houses the nobility, on top of the fact that it is literally above Foundation. In addition to the in-game description of the area, which is the pristine beauty of the buildings and the pillars above, is in stark contrast to the crumbling masonry and scorched structures in the Foundation below. This cements that this is what the team was going for when Ishgard was designed, and I believe that everything I've talked about before reaches its pinnacle in the boss fight with King Thoradin. Thoradin the 7th is a man who has already reached the pinnacle of society, with him being the archbishop and leader of Ishgard. But he wants more. He wishes to be a god, and in his conquest to make his wish come true, he overestimates his own ability. On top of the fact that he didn't want to reveal the truth to the people of Ishgard about how the Dragon Song War started, dooming the people who look towards him for guidance and leadership to give their lives, time, and money to a cause that they don't have a full picture of, eventually deluding himself into calling upon the power of his own twisted version of Thoradin I, and then he transforms into King Thoradin. And all of these intentional bad points show up just before, during, and after his fight. Starting with his appearance, the armor is really flashy with engravings in every piece, with giant shoulder and knee guards. Then there's a cross on his helmet, just waiting for a ninja like me to grab it and twist his head in the wrong direction. But moving on from Thoradin himself, let's talk about his weapon and how that becomes a problem because of his own idiocy and overconfidence. The greatsword itself is fine. I actually love the design of it, but the way Thoradin uses it plays into his cockiness. Starting with the way that he holds the weapon, it's obvious that his sword is a two-handed blade, but he refuses to place both hands on the weapon, and as we see in the next cutscene afterwards, he has enough room on the handle in order to place both hands on it, so it makes no sense as to hold it like that. Also, by holding his weapon like a Kingdom Hearts character, It makes swinging the sword harder than it needs to be, which is expressed through King Thornton's animations in battle, showing that he really doesn't know how to use his new power. Now, getting to the actual fight, this whole battle is a reference to the Knights of the Round summon from Final Fantasy VII, and in a funny twist of fate, it takes longer to fight the Knights of 12 than Thornton himself. Then, after finally defeating them and withstanding Thornton's ultimate attack, the facade finally breaks, coming to the realization that he's not the God King he proclaimed himself to be. And finally, he grips his sword with both hands and flings it around, not knowing what else to do, before finally going down for the count. And finally, as he fades away, he asks us, what are we? Never understanding that whether it was us, the Azure Dragoon, or the people of Ishgard themselves, he was always going to fail because of his own shortcomings. The masterclass of directing when it comes to the characterization of Thornton VII and his boss fight is something that we don't usually see in video games, and made my love for this game grow even more. So with my journey through Heavensward coming to an end, it's time to make my way towards Stormblood to see how this game grows. And with that being said, let me know down below, what was your favorite part of Heavensward? A story moment, a boss fight, or anything else in between? But with that being said, if you want to see more videos like this one, I have plenty of them on my channel, and if you want to be ready for my thoughts on Ryza 2, Near Replicant version 1.22, or Stormblood when I release those videos, subscribe and turn on notifications so you can be ready. But until next time, it's been Skipx and I'm out.